What is going on, everyone? Welcome to a very special live stream. If you're watching this, if you're tuned in right now, it's probably because you want to make sure that you build the best momentum in your real estate business this year. So get your pens and paper ready. If you're watching this live, let us know where it is that you're tuning in from. And if you're watching the replay, also let us know that you're watching the replay. I'm telling you, you're probably going to want to watch this video 2 or 3 times because I have an amazing special guest that's going to be dropping so much knowledge and information that a lot of you, I'm pretty sure you have not heard. And a lot of these things you can implement, as soon as we're done today. So as you're joining, let us know where it is that you're tuning in from. We see West Palm Beach, we see Tracy, California. I know there's going to be people trickling in. So with that being said, I want to just let you know that if you are enjoying this live stream, make sure to subscribe and like the channel. If you're watching me for the first time, my name is Loida with Real Broker. I have been creating content, for years on lead generation and prospecting. And the special guest that I have today is someone that I recently connected finally on Zoom, but it's someone that I've been watching. And, I had the opportunity to be featured on something that he wrote years ago. But you know what? Enough of me talking about him. I want to bring him on so he can tell you exactly who he is. Many of you probably already recognize him. You've been watching it and you've probably definitely been reading his articles. So with that being said, Jimmy Burgess, welcome.
Loida, thank you, my friend. This is long overdue for us to do this. And, I want to mention that obviously I've been watching your stuff for years. As you mentioned, I think it's probably been 4 years ago that I first wrote about some of this stuff that you were doing when it was just getting started. I mean, you were just really getting started. And to see the way that everything has grown, it's a testimony to the value that you bring to the whole community of real estate. So it's just, I'm really humbled to be here with you today and excited. We got some good stuff. Ooh, we got some good stuff for some people today. So this is going to be fun. This is going to be a lot of fun.
Absolutely. No, I appreciate it. And for anyone that's watching that maybe is not too familiar with you, just go ahead and give a little bit about your background.
Yeah, 30 years in the business. I've mentioned this. I don't know when I became the old guy in the business that has 30 years experience, but it's been a long journey. I was what you would call growing up an SOB, which means I was a son of brokers. After my parents both got divorced, I'm in Northwest Florida. My dad moved about an hour away to Fort Walton Beach, Florida, started a brokerage. My stepfather started a brokerage. So literally I was like, the last thing I'm going to do is be in real estate. And then actually after college, my brother was like, hey, I think I'm going to go back and start helping our mom grow the real estate business. And I'd been in the corporate life for about a year. And I was like, hey, maybe that's a good idea. And so started selling then, obviously sold for about 25 years. Sold. That was the primary thing I was doing, and had some success there. Obviously, built a team, grew the business that way. Shifted into a executive role with Berkshire Hathaway Home Services, Beach Properties of Florida, with the ownership team and all of our team there. We were able to build that from about $400 million in sales to $2.1 billion in sales. Sold that to Berkshire Hathaway. I was CEO for 3 years there, and now excited to be with Real Broker and back in selling and helping agents grow their businesses on a national level. So this is going to be fun today because we're going to share some of those things that we're seeing. I know you're talking to agents across the country. I'm talking to agents across the country. These are the strategies that are working right now to build some momentum. Loida, you and I kind of talked a little bit about this earlier this week, and I just feel like this last year has been tough for a lot of people. It's been tough emotionally. You see that, I was up speaking at Inman last week, and Redfin's CEO said that 71% of all agents didn't close a single deal last year. Now, let me say that's skewed because some teams have people under them and stuff that they don't report as an individual, but I think it's still a huge number. And so from that standpoint, it was, what do we do now? Because I think we all know that anytime we turn the page on a new year, we begin to get some fresh excitement about the year. We historically have seen, doesn't matter a lot of times who wins, people just pause during election years. And we saw that last year with transaction numbers down across the country. So this is an exciting time to really start rebuilding some momentum and get excited about the business again. I just know, I think people are they're just ready to be excited again. And hopefully that's what we're going to bring today.
Yeah, exactly. You know, you mentioned it. I hear it all the time. You probably too, where people are like, you know what, Jimmy, I just feel like I'm stuck. I feel like I'm doing everything I'm supposed to be doing. I'm making the calls, I'm doing the follow up, but how do I fix it? How do I get out of this funk that I feel like I'm stuck in?
Yeah, I think you know, momentum is built. It's something that you can't really feel it. I mean, you can feel it, but you can't put your hands on it. You know what I mean? But you know when it's there. And so, how do we get some of that momentum going? And I will tell you, a lot of it is the consistency. You talked about the folks that are making the calls. Trust the process, and we're going to go through and give you those specific things. But I will tell you, like if you're, especially right now, like I know you've done a ton of training on expired listings. Huge opportunities out there right now in expired listings. But let me give you kind of the framework, if that's okay, of the way I've always thought about this. I've always kind of thought about the fact that this rule of five that we've heard before, and basically what the rule of five is really what this was. Is this is a process where if we were to take the way the story's been told is that if we were to take an axe and we were to had a tree in our backyard and we were to go out to the backyard and we were to hit that tree 5 times with the axe and lay it down. This is a strategy and just basically just a principle really that John Maxwell has taught. And then we came back out the next day and we took the axe and we hit the tree 5 times again and we laid the axe down and we went back inside. If we did this day after day after day, it's not a matter of if, it's when will that tree actually fall. And so it's the same way in our real estate business. If we have 5 specific steps and things that we're going to do every single day, and we walk out that day and we hit the tree, so to speak, with those 5 things, then that's going to absolutely, sometimes we got small trees and we can knock them down relatively fast. Sometimes they're bigger goals or they're bigger trees, so to speak, and it may take a little longer. But if we're consistent with hitting those things every single day, it'll absolutely come out. And you've got it pulled up here. What I've used is I've used what I call the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 daily framework. And basically that is we want 5 activities that we're going to do 5 different reps, so to speak, of these things. And I'm gonna give you an example, but you got to figure it out for you. I mean, a lot of obviously, you know, Lord, the success you've had in your business may look different from the activities that I did, but the consistency was the same. And so I'm going to give you a framework really with this of those 5 things that we're seeing. I'm going to use an example of a friend of mine that is doing this right now, is really building some momentum at a very quick pace right now. His 5, so the 5 represents 5 real estate related conversations on a daily basis. Okay. Now this could be, however, he was in the office yesterday, and when he came in here, while we're sitting here reviewing his things, he had 2 inbound calls that came in from people that he had reached out to a few days before. Well, that was 2 of his 5. So now he just had to reach out. So however that is, whether that's in your database, whether that's circle prospecting, whether that's for sale by owners, whether that's whatever it is, whether it's sitting in an open house and having someone come in, 5 real estate related conversations every single day. The 4 that he's doing, and again, you can set these up for whatever it is for you, is he wants to have 4 conversations from people that are past clients and not, you know, or clients, or people that are in his sphere of influence. These are people that he's checking in with that already know, like, and trust him, that generate opportunities for repeat customers or for the ability to have them send referrals. So again, he's having 5 real estate related conversations, 4 sphere of influence calls. Then the 3 for him is he's sending 3 thank you notes, going back almost like the Ninja 5, you know, the Ninja 9 or whatever. You know, it has the send the thank you notes on a daily basis. He's doing 3 thank you notes every single day. Then his 2 is twice a week he's having lunch or coffee with someone in particular. In other words, what he's done, I don't know if you've ever met her, Loida, but a good friend of mine out of Raleigh, North Carolina, Heidi Harris, she, well, we were working on some things a couple of years ago, and she gave me this great line. She had been buying online leads, and she's like, I'm just not an online lead person. I'm a rep. I'm really someone that builds these relationships and generates those referrals. So what she decided to do was, she said, instead of buying leads, I'm going to buy lunch. So now what Andy that I'm talking about here is doing is twice a week, he's buying lunch for somebody. He's just getting to know them, asking them how their family's doing, deepening that relationship. And ultimately, that law of reciprocity comes in, and it's just generating opportunities for referrals and for also for additional business. And then the 1 is the unsolicited video CMA. I know we're going to get to this in a little bit. This has kind of been the thing that is everything that I've done. It's one of the ways that I really built some huge momentum in my business, and I'll talk about that in a minute. But really, as long as you know that, and we should never have a day that we wake up and we're like, what am I going to do today? We want to break this down where we've got activities that on a daily basis, we can do this on a daily basis. And if you'll do something along these lines, whatever those 5 are for you, every single day, this is not something that I think. I mean, Loida, we talk. Hey, I'm not a professor. If you can't tell by this accent, I don't speak from theory. I'm telling you what I know that I know. This is experience. If you do something in this type of a framework where you're having consistent communication and consistently adding value, you will absolutely build momentum in a way like you've never seen before.
And even, you know, as we're looking at this framework, which I pulled on the screen, because I'm sure that there were a lot of people then in the audience that are like, you know what, you said it too fast, go back. Right now is your chance, you know, take a screenshot, take a picture, watch the replay. But these are all things that are very easy to use, to do. It doesn't take a lot of time. And I'm sure those of you that are watching, you have enough people to start making and doing these activities. 5 real estate related conversations. You know, if I go to a restaurant or wherever, typically I like to start conversations based off of something that I see. Maybe I see a lady, she has a nice purse. I start talking about that. And, you know, if you give compliments to people, they just start telling you about their life. So you just never know where the opportunities are. But I think also, Jimmy, it comes down to people stepping outside of their comfort zone, because they might feel like, oh, my sphere of influence, I haven't talked to them in a long time. It's going to be awkward reaching out. So for someone that feels like that, what would you recommend for them to do?
Yeah, I would say start with the low-hanging fruit and make those calls, like you said, and those conversations that are easy for you. I mean, that's why when I say 5 real estate related conversations, find a way that is easiest for you. You know, I've got people that actually 3 days a week, they're hosting open houses, and they're having 5 real estate related conversations those days with people walking into open houses. We've got people that are calling, and they're actually out there, and they're calling on expired listings. They're just comfortable with that. We've got people that are calling for sale by owners. We've got people that are calling about activities that are happening around a marketable moment, as my friend Jimmy Mackin says. You know, it's a recent sale or whatever it is. Just figure out. That's why I wanted to give it as something that you can figure out what it is and what is best for you. And if you're not sure how to make those calls, obviously, Loida, you've got some amazing training on some of the scripting. You know, I've got some of those on my channel. You're not going to lack for information. But let me say this: if you're not uncomfortable, odds are you're not growing. You know, I've always said that growth and comfort just absolutely cannot coexist. I mean, you know, that's the thing is if I went to the gym this morning and I'm not just a little bit sore, I probably didn't do enough to actually grow. And it's the same way in our real estate business. Get yourself a little bit uncomfortable. And in reality, you really want to get some momentum. Get yourself real uncomfortable. Start doing more video content, making the calls that you don't want to make. Do those things. But as long as you stick to something, and that is like what we were talking about, that is a systematic plan of daily activities that if you do that, if you did that right there for 1 solid month, I don't guarantee much, but I will guarantee that you will have momentum in your business, and you will have a group of buyers and sellers that you have absolutely feel like you have stumbled upon, that you will be as busy as you've been in a very, very long time.
And, you know, I feel that a lot of agents, especially, I'm sure some of you that are watching this, you're going to fall into this category. You're operating at like 60, 70% of your full potential instead of being like 110. So you really have to evaluate your daily activities, how much time you're putting in, your skills. Are you actually making the calls and being intentional with what you say you're going to do? Because, you know, I hear it from a perspective of, you know what, Loida, I've been making calls for 2 weeks and it doesn't work. Okay, well, try making calls for 6 months or a year and then tell me it doesn't work.
Yeah.
Or how many for sale by owners have you called? I only talked to 2. FSBOs don't work. Okay, call hundreds of them. FSBOs expires. Once you have done it consistently, come back to me. Let me know what they've told you, and then let's figure out exactly where you need to work. But again, it goes back to putting in the work. I'm sure, Jimmy, anything that you do it at 100% or more. For me, that's how it was too. When I got into the business, I was told, hey, you need to do this, this, and that, because that's what top producers do. I didn't question it. I didn't get distracted by all of these different shiny objects. I just said, okay, you're telling me I got a door knock and cold call? You know, I'm scared, but I'm going to do it because, you know, so-and-so did it and they're a top producer, so it must work. So is it glamorous? Am I going to like it? No. Am I scared of rejection? Absolutely. But it's going to get me to that paycheck so that I can live the life that I want, so that I can retire my mom. And I was able to accomplish all these things. So yeah, I'm glad that we're talking about this. So thank you so much for that, Jimmy.
Hey, Loida, this is the thing also is I think sometimes this is why a lot of people hope, you know, I don't mean this in the wrong way, but sometimes we have to, the pain has to get so much that the pain of staying where we are is more than the pain of doing the work, unfortunately. And when you were talking about consistency, you mentioned, hey, don't just do 2 weeks and say, well, that didn't work. I mean, it takes time, just as it takes consistent going, physical fitness takes consistent exercise with your business. In order to have success in your business, it takes consistently having those activities that you're doing on a daily basis. So again, it's one of those, another thing, I mean, get around some people that are excited. You know, get around some people that are going to encourage you. I mean, the worst thing that can happen is for you to get on an island like this. I know you've got a group of people that you help. I've got a group of people that I help. Get involved with the people that are excited about the business, that are doing the work, and you will absolutely just drift that way. It is something that I've just seen over and over again. And I've said, I'll give you this. This is me personally, and I would encourage other people. So this year, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to focus on spending more time. And this is why I'm so excited to be with you today. I want to be around leaders instead of needers, because I will absolutely mold to those people that I'm around. And so when I'm around those leaders that are doing the work, I get encouraged to go do more of the work. I get encouraged to make those extra calls. I get encouraged to reach out in a way that maybe we've seen a little bit of, because the business was so good for a little while, we got a little spoiled and we lost some of that marketing prowess we had, some of that ability to go out and make things happen. Lord, I had a friend of mine told me this a little while back, and I just love this analogy. He said, what you want to make sure you are is you never become an indoor cat. And what he meant by that is that if you think about what is an indoor cat, that's a cat that somebody has in their house. When you see those cats, they're typically a little fat. They're lazy. They've typically got a bad attitude. I mean, you say you come in and they just turn away from you. You know what I mean? And they're sitting there thinking they've got it made, looking out the window at the entire world going around. They don't even realize they're sitting in a cage. But what I want to be around is one of those outdoor cats. Listen, here's what an outdoor cat does. An outdoor cat realizes if I'm going to eat today, I got to go get something. I got to go make this happen. But I've got the freedom to go run as wide open as I want. I got the freedom to go and do whatever it is I choose to do, but I've got to do the activity to make sure that it ends up happening. An outdoor cat is something that goes out and understands that, hey, listen, I'm going to go out here. I'm going to get excited about this. I've got freedom like never before, but I'm going to use that freedom in a way that's absolutely going to make things better for me. So as we go through some of these specific strategies that we're going to get into now, because I want to get into some actionable things people can take and they can use immediately. Just think of it from a framework of what is it that I want to have in my life to look like 6 months from now? Because it does break down to the daily activities. In real estate, we work on a 30, 60, 90-day cycle. The activities we do today are not going to show the fruit. We may see some activities that get us excited, but the actual harvesting of the fruit is going to take us 30, 60, 90 days from the time that we actually do the activities. So let's get into some of these specific, Lloyd, if that's okay.
Absolutely. Yes. Let's get to the magic text that wakes up your database.
Yeah. So a lot of us have people that have been receiving emails about properties from us over this past, in the past. Do you happen to have that text, or I'll just read it if you don't have that text?
You can just go ahead and read it.
Okay. Let me just read this out to you. And look, you can get this if you'll just reach out to either one of us. We'll get this over to you for sure. But let me just read this to you. This is to those folks. And what we're doing is maybe you've got a database that the people are looking at properties, you've talked to them, but maybe it's been a little while since you've actually talked to them on the phone, or you haven't been able to talk to them on the phone. Well, this is the email that would go out to, or the text that would go out to them. Okay. This is your name with your company. You've been receiving emails with property details from me for a while now. I want to make sure I'm not overwhelming you with emails, but also that I'm providing you with information you want. Should I make any adjustments to the frequency of emails or types of properties I'm sending you? Now, listen, if we want to, I can add this to the comments when we get down below. We can pin that up if we need to. But again, here's the thing about this text. We can't make a living on maybes. This is yes and no's. And so some people are going to come back and say, hey, listen, you can take me off the list, which is fine. Okay, that's perfectly fine. But what you're going to have is you're going to have some people that are going to say, hey, thanks for reaching out. Actually, we're now thinking that we need 4 bedrooms instead of 3 like you had been sitting. Or actually now we really like this neighborhood. They're going to begin to communicate. This is a way to re-engage with your database in a way where you're going to give them a very soft text that creates these conversations that we were talking about having. So if you're out there and you've got some of these folks, don't send this to 200 people. Don't send this blind, because I'm going to tell you what happened. We had somebody, Loida, they had it sitting on their desk and they sent that text and all of a sudden it went, it was just bouncing all over the place because there were so many responses. This will get you some responses. The key is to follow up with those responses. So I would suggest doing 10 to 20 of these. If you get a number of responses, reply to those, then send another 10 to 20. If you don't get any, send another 10 or 20. And as you send these, you're going to begin to see your database become alive again, and you're going to begin to re-engage with that group. Does this all make sense?
Absolutely. No, what I was going to say is that for those of you that are watching, if you are enjoying this live stream so far, make sure to give it a like. Make sure to subscribe to Jimmy's channel because he has so much great content on there as well. And we're trying to get him to 100,000 subscribers too. So go ahead and subscribe out there. And just, even regarding this text message, I feel that we all have so many people in our database that sometimes we're like, I want to reach out, but what do I say?
Yeah.
Again, this goes to let's get outside of our comfort zone, send this out. And if I'm hearing you correctly, Jimmy, we're going to get so many responses that we're going to have to be like, oh my gosh, I got to slow it down.
That's it. Yeah. The key thing here is like you say, the last thing you want to do is send it out and have too many people to get to. The person I mentioned sent it to 200 people and it took him 3 days to get to everybody. And it was just too late. I mean, some of those folks were ready and were expecting that delay kind of slow down his process. And so I would just encourage you, send it to 10 to 20. Don't be discouraged if you don't, this is a numbers game. So the averages work. So if you only get a couple on the first one, keep sending those until you find and get to all of those folks. You've got those, and you're going to be amazed at the opportunities that it's going to give you to kind of get a better understanding of where your database is and set your spring up in a way that's going to absolutely build that momentum we're talking about.
There you go. So number 2.
Yep.
The fear of missing out deal of the week email.
Oh, this is from our mutual friend, Sharon Srivatsa. I mean, and you've seen this modified by Jimmy Mackin. You've seen it with a bunch of different people. But this is one of those consistent activities to our database that, again, is going to give us the ability to re-engage with that database. Now, there's a couple key things to this. Number one, as far as the email that we're going to send out, this is something, what we've been doing is we've been doing this on an email on Fridays. Loida, we've also done this with video emails where we're doing a property highlight and we're in front of the property and we're doing like, I've got a friend of mine does a Friday find and his accent makes mine look, very like I'm from New York City, but basically he's highlighting a property a week. So what this is we're gonna make sure that a couple things are in there. Number one is that we're gonna be consistent with the email subject line. So whatever your area is, for me, Santa Rosa Beach, 30A, Destin, Panama City, whatever it is, it would be like Destin deal of the week. Okay. You can see this 30A deal of the week. Great. Thank you. This is an example of this. The second thing we want to do is you'll notice that I don't give them the address of the property. I'm going to give them enough information to cue something. And we're going to do this in bullet points where it kind of tells a little bit of the features. And then we're going to have a simple call to action at the bottom. So if you notice down at the bottom, we want to make it easy. Remember, Loida, when we were first starting where it would be like, link in bio. Well, nobody's going to do that. I mean, everybody moves so quickly. But with this email, we make it very easy. At the bottom, we just say, if you're interested, just reply and I'll get you all the details. Again, those folks that are going to reply to this, they're going to be somebody that is absolutely in the market. So they're really literally raising their hand and telling you, hey, I'd like more information because I'm in the market. So this is a great way, again, to re-engage with your database as a whole, to offer potential properties. What I would encourage you to do is to rotate the price point on these, rotate the types of properties, because your database is going to really have a little bit of a difference. Sometimes it'll be a condo-driven market. Sometimes, like in yours and mine areas along the coast, sometimes it'll be single-family residences. Sometimes it'll be an investor. So I would just encourage you, as you're testing this and as you're doing these first few weeks, rotate the type of properties and the price point until you find your sweet spot for yours. So this is something that absolutely I would encourage everybody to get started on. Almost, I mean, I would have it done tomorrow. If you haven't done this yet, run this out to your database and watch what happens as far as some of the engagement you're going to have.
Awesome. And then the next one, the video CMA strategy.
Yeah. Yeah. So this is, I got to give you the background on this, okay? Because this is going back to before I shifted into more of an executive role in the last few years, to when I was really, this is when I started doing this, because I never want to do anything where I'm teaching or I'm telling people to do something that I'm not personally doing. So what I decided to do is that I wanted to have an unsolicited video CMA going out. Now, what I meant by that is they didn't ask me for it. And I wanted to do it in a video format instead of just sending this, so that it was different, so that it would have a little bit of shelf life. It would make me stand out. What I decided to do is that I decided to do this in the fourth quarter. You can start it whenever. We've got people doing this right now, and it is getting huge results. I had somebody yesterday text me that he's been doing this for 14 days now. He started this basically in the second week of the year. He's been doing one a day. And in his first 12 he sent out, he's got 2 listing appointments. Okay. So again, start with your lowest hanging fruit. So the way that I started with this, and I want to show you exactly how I did this and what you need to have pulled up to shoot these videos. But what I did is I made a list of all of the people that had mentioned to me that they might be selling in the next few years. I made a list of people I had met at open houses that were homeowners in specific neighborhoods I was geographically farming. I made a list of my past buyers that have been owning for a few years. I made a list of neighbors, family members, of people that I just knew probably had that owned homes that would possibly either be in the market to sell in the next few years, or that were someone that would have influence and could share it with other people. I then ranked those folks, and I decided that every single day that I worked for that 3-month period, I was going to do one of these video unsolicited CMAs. Now, I didn't work every day. We had holidays and we had some things, weekends, some days off. Come on, we got to have a few days off. And so I ended up with 72 during that 3-month period, days that I worked, that I did these video CMAs. Lord, after doing those every single day, what I found is that at the end of that 3 months, and I will spill over into the next 2 months, because some of them I had started the conversation and then listed it in the next couple months. I ended up listing over $11 million directly from this one strategy. And I'm going to show you exactly how to do these 3 to 5 minute videos in just a second. And it ended up being a $3,600 per hour activity. Now, you may be saying, but my average sales price is not the same as yours on the beach. That's fine. What if it's half? And it's an $1,800 an hour activity. And I'm going to show you this because it doesn't just have shelf life now. It generated 18 months later from this 30-minute a day strategy. It generated another $5 million. And I'll show you how I did that in just a second. So do we have an example of this? I'll kind of show you as we pull this up. Okay. So there's 3 tabs you want to have pulled up. This is the second tab. The first tab that I like to use, and you'll notice this, I used BombBomb. You can use Zoom. You can use Loom, where you're just recording your screen. It can be Zoom party of one, where you're just, and then record your screen, so to speak. I used BombBomb. The reason I liked it is because it starts with that GIF, and the GIF moves when you have it embedded in the email. So what I like to do is I started the video, and the first tab that I had pulled up was actually coming from Google Earth. And the reason I did this is that I had the address pulled up in Google Earth. And when it would do its 3, 2, 1 countdown for me to start the video, the second it started the video, I'd hit enter, and it would come from outer space on top of the house. Okay. The reason I did that is I'm just going to tell you, our open rates were in the 80+% range on these emails. And part of it is if somebody sends me something that comes in from outer space and zooms in on the top of my house, I'm probably going to click that thing. I'm just curious, The second thing that we did to make sure that click-through rate was good is that we had the same subject line on all of these. It was their address. So I'm just going to use this 123 Main Street valuation update. That was the email. It was the email subject line we had on all of them was their address valuation update. Again, very personalized, and that helped on our click-through rate as well. Now, when I would get to that Google, where it would zoom in on the top, I would just open with something similar to this. Hey, this is Jimmy. It's been a little while since you guys purchased your house, or maybe since you told me that you might be considering selling in the next few years. I just wanted to give you an updated understanding of where your value is as of January 2025 or whenever it is that you're doing this. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through and share my screen here in just over the next couple of minutes and show you what is on the market currently, what is recently sold, give you a range of the value of your place and what you would probably net out with if you were to thinking about selling it right now. Again, I'm not asking them for the listing. I'm not doing anything. Then I shift to screen number 2, tab that I already have pulled up. This could be your CMA, whatever you utilize. You can look here. And first off, let me say this, Loida, it's different. Like there's some people that are like, I can't do video. I mean, Loida, look at her on video. Look at this guy with this orange. I mean, this looks like a Halloween costume and the shiny head. So I promise you, if I can do these videos, you can do it, okay? But this is the second tab that I would have pulled up. This is where I was going to go into the actual update of where the active pending and sold houses like theirs were. I just used my MLS. You could do something that is much, that is dressed up, a little bit better CMA, whatever you choose to do. I kept it very simple, and you can always upgrade from what I did. But you'll notice here, what I did on this condo in this particular case is I pulled up what's for sale and what's recently sold. And then I just talked like I'm sitting at the kitchen table, and I didn't have to memorize it because I could just read what was on my screen. I would say, for instance, as you can see here, there have been 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 recent sales of 3-bedroom condos just like yours. Also, you'll notice here that there are 1, 2, 3, and I would just count them as I'm sitting there, 5 that are for sale. And there's more than 5, but I'm just using that as an example here. And then I would say, so I'm going to go through and tell you about the recent sales because that is obviously gives us an idea of where your value might be. If you'll notice, the range here was between this and this price. I'm just looking at it on there. And then I'll say, and then currently for sale, the range of the ones for sale like yours are between this and this price. Now, I haven't been in your place in a little while, and so I don't know if there's some deferred maintenance or maybe you've done some upgrades. So what I want to do for this is just give you a rough idea of where your value is. So based on these numbers, your value would be between X and Y. $50,000 typically, or somewhere in the 8 to 10% range. And what I simply would say then is I would say, hey, and by the way, if you're curious about what it would sell for, take me 5 minutes to walk through your house. I can tell you exactly what it'll sell for. Then I kept moving, okay? So I kind of put that out there, but I didn't just openly say, do you want to list your house? And then the third tab that I had pulled up was an estimated seller net. Everybody wants to know what their net is. So what I would say in that is I would say, and I'm just going to use a round number here. I would say, hey, based on this, I know that I told you that your value was somewhere between 700 and 750,000. For this estimation, I'm going to use in the middle 725,000. In our market, the standard closing costs for a seller are this amount for the commission, this amount for the doc stamps on the deed here in Florida. In our market, those are the 2 standard closing costs. Now, you will have some other proration costs and some things. So this is just a rough idea. And I don't have the amount that you have on your mortgage. But based on that, if you were to sell it at the 725 in the middle of that range, this is what it would look like. And then you can subtract out some additional small closing costs and your net and your mortgage sheet. Then I would just take this off the share screen where it would just be me so that I could talk to him. And I would close with this every single time. Hey, look, if you're ever curious about where your value was in January of 2025, all you got to do is come back into your email and just simply go to and do a search for your address or valuation update, and it'll pop right back up. Now, the reason I did that is that this ends up having more shelf life. Another reason, Loida, that I loved having and utilizing BombBomb is because it tells me how many times they actually opened the email. So when I would see that they had opened and they had watched that video 5 times, guess who I'm calling first thing the next morning? It was them. And I would just, and look, they don't know that I know they've watched it. I would just simply say, hey, it's Jimmy. It's been a little while. I sent you an email. I just want to make sure you got it, where I kind of went through your value and just curious to make sure that you did receive that. I said, yeah, it's actually, I've watched it. Great. Did you have any questions? Because what I found was those that were watching it were absolutely 4 or 5 times, they were either sharing it with a family member, they were sharing it with someone else, or they were considering selling. So it was a great opportunity to do these things in a way that really got me some opportunities here. This was one of those things, and I'm going to give you the tail end of this, okay? The reason why I mentioned that I got additional listings 18 months after doing this, the first time that I did this, it was actually about 18 months before the pandemic hit. Now, here was the crazy thing is, I shifted about 4 months after this into an executive role, made no outbound communication to any of my database. I basically went quiet on my sales side and just focused on helping other agents grow their business and growing our company. And when that happened, all of a sudden, when the pandemic hit, because I'd mentioned in the video, hey, if you're ever curious where your value was, just go into your email and just search for your name, for your address and valuation update. I started getting these dings from BombBomb that people were watching my videos. And I ended up, without making any additional on that 30-minute a day activity, 18 months later, it generated another $5+ million worth of listings for me from something I did 18 months previous. So this is one of those strategies that I know is going to help you not just get business. It's one of these where, hey, look, we're going to be able to eat today, but we're also setting the table for the future meal as well. So that's one of those strategies that I can't give you enough. And look, if you want to see how to break that down even more so, because I did a video on my YouTube channel. If you just look up, just search in there for CMA or unsolicited video CMA, it'll pop up the video and really break that down even more, if that helps.
And we do have a question, and that is, does this work for like NODs, expireds, FSBOs?
Yeah, it absolutely does. What I would say is the more communication you've had, the more effective it is. So yes, we've had people that do these. The problem is the open rate is not nearly as high if it's a cold send out, but it absolutely does. What we've done on that, so I'll give you an example, is if it's an expired listing, what sometimes we will do is once we've had that conversation with them initially, is say, hey, listen, I'd love to just kind of give you an understanding of who I am. So I'd love to just share my screen, send you over like a 3 to 4 minute video on kind of where the market is today and get you an idea of roughly where your value is. If that's okay, I'd love to send that email over to you. And they're way more open to that. If it's a for sale by owner, typically we like to give value before we try to just get something. In this case, this is a great way to do that. If you're talking to them, say, hey, listen, just in case you're wondering, I'll just kind of show you how we put together valuations. If you'd like for me to do that, I'd be glad to do that for you. We want to, in those cases, we want a little bit of communication beforehand. Again, we've had people, and if there's new agents listening, we had someone that moved into our area and said, hey, listen, I don't have past clients. I don't have people to list. I said, well, do you know anybody here locally yet? And he said, well, I got my neighbor 3 doors down. I said, look, and he said, hey, we go over, we have, we meet in the afternoons, we sit out in the yard, we catch up, we have a little afternoon cocktail. And I said, well, look, next time you're with him, say, hey, listen, I'd love to get your honest feedback on something that I'm trying. Would you mind if I emailed this over to you and just get your honest feedback? And so he sends one to his neighbor, only person he really knew in town. The neighbor comes over and says, hey, I didn't want to say this because I knew you were new to real estate, but based on what you just sent me, we're actually getting ready to sell our house, and we'd love for you to talk to you about listing it. That was his first listing from doing that. So wow. Absolutely, the more the relationship, the better and more effective this is going to be. But don't let that stop you if you don't have those from building momentum by doing. You may just have to do more to get a quicker response. But I'll guarantee you're laying a foundation that you can absolutely build on top of.
And what I love about that is that even for like new agents, right? Like what you just mentioned, as you're going through the CMA and all of this information, it makes you come across as the expert. Like, what's happening in that area, active, souls, prices. So when you send it to someone, maybe they probably don't even know whether you have sold a home or not. But after they see that, they're like, you know what? I need to call Jimmy because I have some questions about this.
Yeah. And I will tell you this, if you're looking at, and you've got a group of people like in a specific neighborhood, I'll give you an example. If you're geographically farming an area and you have a group of owners, a lot of times, there are certain owners that have certain floor plans. If it's a tract built home neighborhood, or if it's a condo, it's the same, it's the stack. I mean, if it's 202 is going to have the same floor plan as 302. So when you get those, it's very easy once you got the comps up to do this for multiple people in a row very quickly. So when I mentioned I did one a day, there were days where I would be in one subdivision though, and I would shoot 3 or 4 of them because I had the comps pulled up, and I would just send one out today, and then I would send one out the next day, but I had them recorded so I could just send those in those emails so that I could stay consistent with it. Again, we're running a marathon, not a sprint. And so it's stay where you can find a pace that you can have some peace with, and then just stay consistent with it would be my suggestion.
And 2 things that you mentioned that I want to make sure that everyone takes note of: the subject line. It's just so simple.
Yeah.
So it's the address and valuation, or can you just repeat it?
Yes. It's absolutely. And this is the thing is somewhere in that video. And as I got doing the videos more, I would do it in the beginning as well as the end. So I was driving it home. So like what we're doing right now, when I did it the first time, I just said it at the end. But now we're trying to, as soon as we come on, hey, it's Jimmy, it's been a little while. I just took a few minutes and actually pulled up the the homes that are for sale right now, like yours, and the ones that have recently sold, so that I could just give you an updated idea of where your value is. So look, if you're ever curious where your value is in the future, you can, and you know where it was in January of 2025, you can always come back and just look and just go in and do a search in your email and search for your address or valuation update, and it'll pop up. And then I did the same thing at the end. And that way we were driving and reinforcing that back in there. And I will tell you too, Loida, this is something I'm talking about doing consistently now. But as you have these, after you do one, you're going to get some results. But the time that you then do another one for somebody 6 months from now or a year from now or 3 months from now, and you put them in a consistent flow where you're doing updates on this consistently, those folks that we've got that have been doing this for a couple of years now, it is literally just it is a listing machine. It is just run, rinse, and repeat. I mean, it is now just generating those opportunities for them.
And also to repeat, you have to be intentional with that call to action.
Right.
So in the beginning and at the end, because many times I've seen it, I've done it where I send an email, but I don't tell people what to do. So they get the information. They're like, okay, cool. You know,
Yes.
am I going to reach out to Jimmy? I don't know. I don't need them right now, but they'll remember once you are intentional.
And it's not just that, Lord. If you notice, it was kind of subtle. I said it in there. I was like, look, if you're curious about what your value is, take me 5 minutes to walk through. I can tell you exactly. So you're absolutely right. So I like to do, you know, it's almost like I think of like the 3 to 5 minute on these videos that I'm doing, these overviews, is that about every minute I want to have some type of a small call to action in there. So I'm giving them opportunities in there. So it's at the beginning, you know, with, hey, if you're ever curious, you want to come back, here's what you do. Hey, if you're ever, you know, hey, look, take me 5 minutes. If you're curious about what your value is to walk through your house, I can tell you what it is. Subtle, but it is an absolute call to action. It's almost like, you know, it is that dog whistle a little bit that those folks that are considering selling, that they have that opportunity to know what that next step would be. So absolutely. Yeah.
And before we get to our last strategy, again, if you guys are enjoying this, let us know. Subscribe to Jimmy's channel, our channel, like. There's also going to be his links in the description box below. And I believe you have something special in case the agents want something. Best stuff from Jimmy.com, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Best stuff from Jimmy.com. What I did, Loida, is I took I write an article every week for Inman. And what I do is I'll take that article and I'll have a video, and it's a specific strategy that I go through. And these are really the 5 biggest and most impactful articles as far as trending over there that we've seen. And like, it's like 7 ChatGPT prompts. It's 25 Instagram people that people should be following. It's, it's 12 very specific direct mail pieces that are working for agents across the country right now. Blueprint for building their business, a blueprint for building a listing machine in their business, and then also the structure to have their best year ever. So all that's over there. Anybody that wants that, obviously we don't like to come in here without giving people something. So that's available. Anybody that wants that. This last one is one of my favorite, and it's very timely to what's happening right now. Okay. And I wish I could remember who told me this. And so if you're listening to this or you see this and you were the one that taught me this, please let me know, because I really want to give you credit for it. I just can't remember who it was. But basically what it is Valentine's Day is coming. Now, literally I was on just before before we came on, looking for where I was going to go take my wife for Valentine's Day for dinner. Now, if you are in a city, a lot of times the best restaurants, especially the last week, book up all of their reservations very quickly. We still have a little bit of time. Now, so here's the strategy. Go on and set at the hottest restaurants out there. Go out there and absolutely do exactly what you make the reservation for you. Make a reservation that gives you the ability to have in your name at the hottest restaurant, 6:30, 7:30 time period. Make sure that you book that in your name. And then what I want you to do, you can go online. You can book some of these at different restaurants. Have 4 or 5 of these that you've got. Call some of your best clients, your best referral partners, those folks that you're trying to secure their business going forward. Reach out to them and wait until next week when everything's just about booked, and call them and say, hey, listen, not sure if you've gotten a chance yet to get your reservations for Valentine's Day, but I've got this at this, whatever the hottest restaurant is in your area. I got this 7 o'clock time that I've got reserved. And I was just thinking about who could I give this to, because I've got one at a different restaurant. And I just thought of you. have you gotten a chance to get a reservation yet? And if they say yes, they're going to be, but gosh, but thank you for thinking of me. Or if not, they're going to say, wow, thank you. And they're never going to forget it and say, hey, listen, it's in my name. So when you go up, you just tell them, you know, that you're Jimmy Burgess when they ask who the reservation is for. And you'll have that reservation at 7 o'clock at this great restaurant. They're going to walk up there and they're going to say your name out loud and they'll never, ever forget it. It gives you an opportunity. Look, we were talking about how do I have real estate related conversations? I'll guarantee you when you call those folks and you give like that and you have something to give, immediately they're going to say, hey, by the way, how's the real estate market? Hey, what's going on there? And that gives you an opportunity to have that real estate related conversation and to have it in a way where you're giving without just asking for something. I noticed in here somebody said they clicked the link, it didn't work. I'll tell you what we'll do. If we don't have it work right now, we'll put it in the comment section. I'll get the correct link for that. We'll have it in there immediately after this if it didn't, for some reason didn't work, and we'll make sure that we get that up there as well, okay?
And it's also in the description box. I clicked it. So yeah, I'll make sure to pin it to the description box, to the comments. So you guys will definitely have access to all of Jimmy's stuff. But again, subscribe to his channel because he has a ton of videos, not just of this. Let's see.
And let me say this. If you are not subscribed to Loida, what are you doing? I mean, literally, I mean, you know, this is one of those where, I mean, there's so much value. And now with the catalog of videos that you've had and the trainings you've got, literally you can go on to Loida's channel and search for whatever it is you're trying to get better at. You can absolutely find the training there that she does, which is so really, it's so good. All right, yeah. now we both giving each other flowers. See how we did that?
No, you know, I think this is one of the things I love, even being a part of Real and just me beating you and the collaboration aspect of it. I love teaching agents. You do the same. I mean, we're always putting out content because I think it's so important for agents to do the right things. And you know, I'm all about giving. I don't have, you know, a scarcity mindset. If you can do something better because I implemented, you know, or I gave you a tip for open houses or whatever, it makes me happy when I see the comments and the messages saying, Loida, I did this and it works. It's like, yes, it works.
It does work. And listen, that's the thing. I've always called it, you know what I call that? When the people let us know, I call it my soul feed. That's what feeds my soul. You know what I mean? So please don't hold the blessing back from Loida and I. When you have some success, and please let us know about it, because that literally is what gets us excited. And I know that I know you're the same way as we're getting to know each other as well. I know you're driven by that ability to affect and help others. And so this has been fun. This is a lot of fun. I will say this as we're wrapping up, if that's okay.
Yes.
Somebody is going to have their best year ever. Why not whoever it is that's listening to this? Why not you? And listen, I know that for me, it's not just about the business. You know, somebody's going to have their best year ever as a husband, a wife, a friend, as a mother, a father, a son, a daughter. But somebody's going to have their best year of business as well. And why not you? And doing these daily activities of providing value to people and finding and surrounding yourself with the right people so that you begin to drift in the right direction is absolutely crucial. But I promise you, if you take the action now, we're at a point in this business where we have started to see the activity level begin to move in the right direction, and we're coming out of those doldrums, so to speak. And this is a time when I know pros are going to absolutely be rewarded. And I can't wait to see what this year holds.
Yes. Well, Jimmy, thank you so much for coming on and doing all of this and giving all of these strategies. I know that a lot of these agents probably haven't heard of before. So if you're watching this, whether you're watching live or you're watching the replay, if you enjoyed this, let us know. But here's the thing. Go out and do them. Execute, because there's no point of you being excited about everything Jimmy just said and you're not going to do anything about it. So go do something about it. Send him a DM, subscribe, and let us know that you implemented and how many listings you got from it. So Jimmy, thank you once again, and thank you all for watching.
Thanks, everybody.